So apparently there's this new rule out there for some colleges that it is illegal to record your class. And Jordan Peterson, who I respect, is out there jumping the shark to a conclusion I think is valid. It's not the only valid one. That is a sign that they have something to hide. Let me explain why that's not necessarily the case. And where it is the case, why his advice is good. So about 10 years ago in 2014, I had a news crew come into my classroom and must have been a general biology lecture, and take some footage for a news story. After the class was over, one of my students came up to me and informed me that she was in the witness protection program, and as a consequence of this footage being captured, she was forced to quit school and be relocated. So where I work, a policy was implemented that no recordings could be made without the instructor's consent. And now there's a thing that's in the syllabus. It's been there for 10 years. And this is long before wokeism and any of that stuff that Jordan Peterson is talking about, or the protests and that kind of thing that are now the bedrock on which these arguments are sitting. Fast forward maybe a year later, and I had this completely deaf student who came in, and there was an accommodation that I had to make. This individual, he had a dragon dictate. So after the first time we met, I had to read some fairy tale excerpts into the dragon dictate so it would get used to recognizing the way I pronounce things and the words that I used so that it could write for him in real time what I was talking about in lecture. And I was initially worried about this because although I'm not doing anything nefarious or untoward, I didn't really know exactly everything I said all the time. And ironically, it turned out to be a good thing for me. Later that semester, some students were contending that I had said something, and I walked over to this gentleman. I said, let's read the transcript. And I scrolled up on his dragon dictate, and then I reread what the dragon dictate had said that I said back into the record. And I said, don't put words in my mouth. I have a court-ordered reporter taking down my every word. Now, I was worried about it because there are some things I say sometimes and think, well, that was not real bright. And I've said some things and had students go and complain about what I said, how I said it, what it amounted to. I know I once made reference to pregnancy as a host-parasite relationship, which it is. And I was instructed to not refer to it that way in a classroom ever again, even though the department chair at the time was a virologist and understood exactly why I had used that relationship as a parallelism. My point in these stories is there are non-nefarious, non-untoward reasons why professors would rather you not record their material. And I give my students permission to record what we do in class with the proviso that it's for the express use of the class. It's the intellectual property of the school. They can't use it after the class is over, but they can use it to review, rehearse, re-listen to, revisit the things that we cover in class to help them study. There are also a lot of videos of me on the internet teaching, so much so that this semester the department decided to forego my in-person evaluation because they can watch me teach in those videos anytime they want, which we did because of quarantine. And I have students, both mine and people in the community that I run into who know who I am and where I work because they are in those courses, and those videos are still available to students, even though now we meet live. It's a reference and a supplemental material they can watch to see how the experiment should run and what the theory is behind it. And I'm in like a third of them or something ridiculous, because I was one of the only ones allowed to be here and film content on campus for students to watch. And so I'm in a lot of them because I was the only one who was allowed to be in them at the very beginning of quarantine. So to Jordan Peterson's comment, his overall arching principle is sound, that people who refuse to be recorded are probably hiding something. Now, he says they are. And we're all hiding something. Everyone has skeletons in their closet. Some people have, nothing but skeletons in their closet. And the point is that this is supposed to be an educational institution. So if I'm afraid of the things that I'm saying, to where I don't want you to record it and report it, then maybe I shouldn't say it. The patriot Samuel Adams had a policy of never writing anything down that he didn't want other people to know that he had said. It's one of the reasons we don't have a lot of his sayings is because he never wrote anything down. It was a way to escape some severe negative consequences for his fomenting of rebellion. It didn't help. The King of England would have executed him anyway, even if the colonists had surrendered, but it was a way to protect himself from negative repercussions. And that's, I think, what Jordan Peterson's point is that there are people out there, particularly professors, who are indoctrinating students and trying to hide from the repercussions that would come if people knew what they were doing, if people knew what they were covering, if people knew how they were discussing things, if people knew how woke they were. I know one of the stories that I saw was about an elementary school class where the teacher in an elementary school class has surrounded the classroom with pride flags, BLM posters, Palestinian flags, and things that are in support of refugees, which is a clear effort to indoctrinate students at a young age. I'm in chemistry, and it's very difficult to indoctrinate people in chemistry. To the credit of my department chair, and the dean, actually, rather, he's the one who has been by my office the most. The things that I have that are contrary to the more common narrative taped to the outside of my door there, none of them have been removed because they are from prestigious journals and prestigious periodicals, where in order to refute them, they would have to refute other things also written by those same organizations. And so, because I have things to back it up, they sort of back off and away from me and continue to do their own thing. Like I know the dean, for example, is a super big global climate change guy, and I'm not convinced, we'll put it that way. So there's some things up there that are like, I don't know if that's the case based on this other data over here, and he just ignores it, which is the right thing to do. I have a right to present the information I have, and he has the right to present the information he wishes he had or that he has that's contrary to mine. And if we want to talk about it, we can share it and discuss it. But we don't vandalize each other's offices, and we certainly don't forbid other people from finding out information that could lead to a different conclusion. And what I think a lot of these professors are afraid of is being called to carpet either by with the public or with the parents. Because $53,000 a year tuition to watch your instructor do Zoom lectures from their home in their bathrobe seems like a bad deal to me. Now, during quarantine, I understand there was no other way to do it. They were in our homes, but I was fully dressed in my office with a library behind me, or here. If you ever find any of those videos, you can see I did a lot of them right here at this desk because I was allowed to be here for several hours every day to record content, and then I would go home and I would mash it together and do class and other things. So I was working 12 hours a day between, making Adobe Premiere videos and putting them on the internet. But there are people who are trying to hide things. Sometimes they're trying to hide things for a good reason, but there is always the chance that they're hiding things because they do not wish to be caught doing something that they shouldn't be doing. And I think that's where Dr. Peterson's advice is good. So here's the thing that he ends with that I totally agree with. If a professor refuses to let you record them, you should take a different class. Now, there is one occasion where I would refuse to let anyone record, and that's if, again, I had a student in the witness protection program to protect them. It's not to protect me, because that sucks. That person now is never going to be in the medical field because they have to change their total major and change their identity and start over again. Ugh, what a hassle, because you want to record stuff. But if you want to record things, you can record them. I put stuff on the internet, obviously. I make mistakes. I'm human. And if I find out I've made a mistake, I'm not above correcting it and retracting it, editing it, deleting it, because sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm dead wrong. But I am not afraid of saying what I think, especially if they ask me what I think. Well, is that a trap? You ask me what I thought. I don't have any data. And if I don't have something, I will come back when I do have an answer. And I think students have learned to respect that. Students I know record me all the time. I've heard them listening to me in the hallway outside before classes start. I know some of them listen to me in their car. That's great. They are trying to learn. And I think the refusal to let students record is hampering their learning and giving them a reason to be suspicious. So if you have a professor who refuses to let you record them and doesn't tell you why, but there's no court order, no legal reason, nothing else, especially if, like our school, it says you can't unless the professor says so, but then it's okay, then I would probably sign up for a different class because that professor is probably hiding something, even if it has nothing to do with the course content itself. I mean, that's my 2 cents on the matter. Um, and you have your own, I'm sure. Make your own videos and share them and tell other people what you think. Because in the end, I think you should do all the homework that you can to find out what's best for you and then follow that advice. But I'll put the link to the video I saw down below so you can watch it and think about it for yourself. Anyway, Godspeed, good luck on your finals, and thanks for being engaged in the academic pursuits.